Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 21 of Shakin Hands. I'm your host, Jack Moran. Today on the podcast, we have Chris Bushnell, the co-founder of Charlotte Connects. He's also a mortgage broker. How we doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me. Co-founder, but there's also like 10 of us, so we're all, I guess, can you do 10 co-founders?
Yeah, of course.
It basically is. There's a lot of us that got together, and we're doing this pretty awesome thing, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about like what you're doing right now. Give us some background on you to get started.
Yeah, so I run a mortgage business here in Charlotte, and I specialize in helping millennials, people who are relocating to the city, people who are either moving from other metropolitan cities that, they're relocating here for work, or people who are just newer to the city. Maybe they've been here for 1 or 2 years, but they're still trying to figure out, what neighborhoods to go to, what events to go to, how to meet people. Part of that of helping people get to know what to do and where to go is I partnered up with my buddy Alex and Austin and Manny, and just a whole group of us, 10 really, really amazing people. It could be not 10, but there's approximately 10 of us. And and we started this networking organization, right? And the reason why we started this organization is because we found that Charlotte has a lot of great networking organizations. They're mostly professional networking organizations, but there's also a lot of social clubs too. And they're all great in their own way, but we couldn't find any organization that had both, right? Social connecting, but also professional networking. So we created this organization, Charlotte Connects, where friendship comes first, business comes second, and it's just a great place where people can make professional connections and friends in a very welcoming, relaxed environment. Just have a good time and meet like-minded people.
So in your mortgage business, why was networking valuable to you?
I think networking is valuable in, I would say, any business, but also in just general life, right? I mean, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, just have a lot of friends, right? It's a very relationship business. I don't have customers, right? It's not very transactional at all. I work with the people who I work with forever, right? Whether that is my referral partners, I'm 90% referral. I do some social media stuff, hashtag or at Chris Bushnell Homes. You guys follow me on Instagram, but most of my stuff is referral based. So it's very much about building connections, having good relationships with people, and then it's very long lasting relationships. So I've been doing mortgages for 4 years now, and I know people. I'm still working with people who I met 4 years ago in mortgages. It's kind of just how it works out. But also I think just in general, I mean, if you want to be a business owner, man, it's like there's like a saying where if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with friends. And I think that's true in any industry, any business, where if you have people who are helping you get there, life just is easier. You can accomplish more. And so not only networking, but also just building a community and building friendships is super important to me and just my life.
Is being a mortgage broker your first entrepreneurial pursuit? Is that how you got into the game?
Yeah, it is. I did sales for a long time, so a lot of it most of my career was sales based, but being a mortgage broker was the first time where it's like, hey man, you're out on an island, you got to figure it out. Like sales is definitely a big part of it, but you've got to grow your marketing. You've got to meet people in the community. You've got to do all the finance stuff and the operations stuff. That mortgage was the first time that I got into sort of the business side of, the non-sales activity of growing a business.
Why did you choose that business?
I don't think anybody chooses mortgages. I think mortgages chooses you. I had a friend who, worked in mortgages at the time, and I actually came from tech. So I worked for a few different startup tech companies, and I was always in a sales role. And I was actually with 2 companies that bankrupted back to back. So I was with one company that bankrupted, and then I joined another company, and then that company bankrupted. And at the second company, I was still working there before they shut down, but I had a friend who was in mortgages, and he was crushing it. And this guy recruited me for like 6 months. And eventually I just said, let's do it, man. And I gave it a shot, fell in love with the industry. and I just have never looked back.
And you said you were working in sales before. That was for the tech company?
Correct, yeah.
What were the keys you learned? What were the key factors that allowed you to be successful in sales?
What are the key factors that allowed me to be successful in sales?
I don't know if I framed that well, but you get what I'm saying.
I think the best salespeople are just optimists, right? And I think you have to be, because in most sales and entrepreneurial roles, you just get shit on so often, and there's so much rejection. And if you're not an optimist, man, you're not going to make it, right? You have to be able to look at it and just say, hey, it's going to get better, and I'm going to make it, even in the face of failure, in the face of rejection, and, a lot of tough days. So I think, and not necessarily a skill, right? I don't know if you're born an optimist, or I think you can work on being more optimistic, but I think that's a big part of it. I'm a student of life and sales and business. So I've read all the sales books. Discovery is always the biggest thing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily about giving information. I don't think good salespeople don't give information, they collect information.
Get the words eyeing me out of your mouth.
Yeah. No, seriously, right? I mean, you have to be very good at discovery, and with all AI, right? You've got all this AI stuff taking all of these jobs, but the one thing that AI will never take away, AI will never take away the jobs that involve empathy, right? AI will never take away the jobs that involve human interaction, because people crave that. And when you have empathy and you can really understand where somebody is coming from, that's how you be successful at sales, especially with AI and all the technology that we have.
So you said before that you get a lot of business through referrals. What's the key to asking referrals, or just like people giving them to you? How do you get good referrals? I think that's a big part of having a successful business, is growing it through referrals, but Sure. It's not always easy.
Yeah, I think there's two parts to getting a lot of referrals. I think the first part is meeting a lot of people, right? And whether that's just cold prospecting, going to events, meeting people through your circle of influence, but you have to prospect. My favorite sales book of all time is Fanatical Prospecting. I've read that book maybe 3 or 4 times, and just going out and meeting people. Right? If you want to fail at sales, just isolate yourself for a little bit. Yeah. Right? And you'll make no money, and you can find something else to do. Maybe it's a little easier. But it starts with prospecting. It starts with just meeting people, and then you take care of people, right? And you follow up, right? And if you build relationships with people, but you also have to take care of them, right? Everyone who's ever worked with me knows that I'm good at what I do, and that's certainly a big part of it, right? If I wasn't good at being a mortgage broker, no one would want to work with me. So yes, you do need to fanatically prospect and meet as many people as you can, and you do need to follow up forever with everybody, but you also have to be good at what you do. And I think if you're really good, and you're good at solving people's problems, right? Knowing, who ideally do you want to work with? I'm very niche, right? I work with millennials who are relocating to Charlotte, and I know what problems they have. And so because I know what problems they have, I can give them solutions to their problems. And I'm at a point now where I rarely even ask for referrals. I get a ton of referrals. Like my business is based on referrals, but I rarely ask for them because I don't need to. Because everybody knows I'm a mortgage broker. Everybody knows I'm very good at what I do. And I give so much to people, and I'm always in front of people, that if somebody talks to somebody who's talking about real estate or buying a house, and I'm always on top of mine, and they know I work in real estate, they say, hey, you should talk to my buddy Chris. And that's how I've built my business.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how you said, like, it's important to just get out and meet as many people as possible. I was told early in my career that the 2 biggest reasons businesses fail is because people don't know you're in business, first of all, and they don't know the services that you offer. Yeah. So if you can get out there and at least just like let people know that you're around, then when it comes to their mind and they encounter an opportunity that may overlap with your services,
exactly,
give you that referral business.
Yeah, what is it? You got to be known, liked, and then trusted. You got to be known first. If nobody knows who you are, you could be the best at what you do, but if no one knows you exist, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, I like that little buzzword, known, liked, trusted.
Yeah.
How did you get into entrepreneurship? What was your introduction into entrepreneurship, and why did you choose it over the 9-to-5 pursuit?
I think it was another one of those things where I don't think I chose entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship just found me. I've always been very passionate about financial health and financial literacy. So making a bunch of money is important to me, right? And so I could never have a 9-to-5 unless it was a sales job that pays me a lot of money. And, it was one of those things to where, I looked for uncapped things. I don't want there to be any ceilings for me. And between sales and entrepreneurships, I don't really know if there's any other way outside of sales and entrepreneurships that you can have an uncapped income potential.
What are the downfalls or the cons of this journey as opposed to the 9-to-5 that you've had to deal with?
It sucks, man. I mean, you got to grind for sure for a very long time and get no rewards. So I work in real estate, and if anyone's watching who works in real estate, that from 2022 to 2024, even right now, the market is sucked. And I've seen literally half of the people that I've worked with have left the industry. They've quit because they've made no money, right? So, the same points as before. It's there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of failure. There's a lot of, you have this expectation for yourself and what you should be doing and earning and the results that you believe you should be having, and you're not having anywhere near those, right? That's the entrepreneurial roller coaster. And for me, I'm just, like I said, man, you got to be an optimist. So yeah, I ate shit for a very long time, but I always kind of had that vision of knowing that it's going to get better, and eventually it does, and it has.
Yeah, I believe that where there's a will, there's a way. And what do you think differentiates you, and why have you continued to thrive and survive as opposed to these people that you said 50% of them have dropped off? What was the difference between them and you that led to their demise and his?
Yeah. What makes me different? I think that overcoming adversity is like a muscle. And you have to be given a lot of adversity to overcome in order to be somebody who's good at overcoming adversity. And I guess I've just been blessed to have a whole bunch of adversity in my life.
Yeah, that's really good. Good analogy.
Yeah.
How do you define success? What are you chasing after on this entrepreneurial journey?
Man, I think success is, if there's any Earl Nightingale fans, I told you I read a lot of books. Success is the pursuit of a worthwhile ideal, a goal, right? It's you're working towards a goal. And, it's success is the journey, right? Success is enjoying the journey. And it's man, I think it was Hormozy who said something like, the man who is walking to a destination will always walk less than the person who enjoys walking, right?
Right.
Success is working towards something and making progress. That, I think, is success.
You're very philosophical with these statements.
I hang out with Alex Clark a lot, so.
You say you're a big reader, an avid reader, and I think the last 2 people we had today were also big readers. What are the top books that you would recommend to entrepreneurs that you've read that were profound and impactful to your success?
The top 3 books?
Just top ones. No,
top ones.
No, you could give 10 if you want.
It's 10 books. All right, here we go. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's my favorite one, man. I love that book. I've read it a bunch of times. I think another great book is, I'm on the spot, of course. Question-Based Selling is another one, and that's just one that's about psychology and asking good questions so that you can understand people. Fanatical Prospecting, I mentioned. I don't think you can, man, if you just want to be good at sales, just read Fanatical Prospecting. Personally, I think it's the best sales book that's ever been written. And then, if you're into audiobooks, anything by Jim Rohn, you can get the Jim Rohn audiobook collection on Audible, any stuff like that. Tons of them. There's tons.
What is something that you wish you knew entering into this journey that you know now?
Which journey?
Entrepreneurship.
What is something that I wish that I've learned that I've already learned, right?
That you would tell yourself at however old you were when you started your business.
It's gonna suck, but it's all gonna be worth it in the end.
It's good advice. And then Alex, was talking a lot before we got on this about how you are a wizard with the systems. What is the key to systemizing a business? Well, first of all, talk about your systems that you've implemented into your own business, and we can go from there.
I think systems are just built on habits, right? And things that you do over and over and over again. And so that's what my systems are. What are the activities, the input that I'm going to do daily that's going to help me get the results that I want? All right. So my systems, like I wake up at the same exact time every single morning. I have a morning ritual. I have a pre-work ritual, post-work ritual, an evening ritual before I go to bed. I have all these rituals that I do and or routines, whatever you want to call it. I think bookending your days is very important. And this is something that I recently really got laser focused at is I tend to clock out of work at 6 p.m. And a lot of entrepreneurs like, how does this guy make any money if he's clocking out at 6 p.m.? It's because my days are nearly identical. Even though they can be very chaotic in the meat of them, they always start the same, they always end the same. Right? And so the systems that I specifically put at the front and the back of my days make the chaos much more manageable for me. So that's the biggest one. And then more with the systems, I think just writing down, I document a lot of what I'm doing and then figuring out what works and then repeating it.
Yeah.
Right? So like, for example, my prospecting is I have written prospecting methods. I know exactly how I'm going to prospect. Every day has a theme day to it of this is how I'm going to prospect this day. This is who I'm going to call this day. This is who I'm going to see this day. And the reason why I do those specific things is because I know those specific things work. So I just do them all the time.
Yeah, I was saying to you before, I'm a complete sucker for systems. And naturally, as an individual, I'm a very emotional, impulsive, intuitive, like all over the place entrepreneur. And so systems have bought me time. By systemizing things, you're able to delegate, you're able to remove yourself from the business. But when everything's up here, although you may be, a beast, if you can't take that information and externalize it or document it, like you say, you'll never be able to remove yourself from the business.
And eventually that's the goal, right? Is you build the system so they can be repeatable and scalable so somebody else can do it so that I don't have to, so I can just like hang out on a beach somewhere one day, which hopefully not too much longer.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your daily routine because I'm curious what that is. So what time do you wake up in the morning, first of all?
5 a.m.
Every single day?
7 days a week.
Why is that beneficial as opposed to waking up at 8 o'clock?
Because I get a bunch of stuff done before the day even starts, right? So I wake up at 5 a.m. I go to the gym. I lift Monday through Friday. After I work out, feed my dog, I have a morning ritual where, getting ready. I do gratitude practices every single day, review my day, review yesterday. I review my numbers from yesterday. I pre-plan, the current day. And that's typically how I start every single day. I also, at the end of my work day, which is 6 p.m., I'll review my day. I'll plan the next day.
So let's go into a little more detail.
Sure.
So your morning routine, you say that you have like a pre-work routine ritual and you go through, I think you said your gratitudes.
That's part of it.
Yeah. So what does that process look like for you? Like specifically?
So specifically, like, what is the routine, or specifically, what am I grateful for?
Both. Like,
okay.
What are you verbally externalizing? Like, what are you saying? Is it different every single day? Is it the same affirmations every single day?
Sure. So I do have affirmations, so the affirmations are, what are the affirmations? I'm a top performer. Top performers execute regardless of how they feel. I've got a whole list of them. When it comes to gratitude, I think gratitude is the most important thing for a salesperson or an entrepreneur. especially when there's so much grind, the things that I'm grateful for are, I mean, it does change every day. I like to practice gratitude, and the thing that I tell myself is, what if tomorrow you only had the things that you said you were grateful for today? And so that's the way I look at it. What is everything that I have in my life that I'm grateful for, that if I didn't say I was grateful for it, maybe I wouldn't have it tomorrow, right? So maybe I should be grateful for it today. Sometimes it'll take 5 minutes. Sometimes it'll be 20, 25 minutes. It's, there are some things that are typically every single day. It used to be my fiance. I'm free now, everybody. So, single ladies. So I'm not a lady, but I'm single. My dog, my house, I'm a homeowner, and, I have a beautiful house. I've got a great car. I've got a great family. I've got great friends. I've got a great job where I can make a really amazing income. Working remotely, I can work anywhere in the world that I want. There's so many things. I'm grateful for my gym, right, that I get to go to every day. I'm grateful for the communities that I have. I'm grateful for, all the adversity that I had to overcome, when I was younger, that's put me into the places that I am today. And even the ones when I went through it, it was like, this sucks, man. Why am I going through this? And now I look back at it and it's like, man, I'm so grateful that I went through that, because it's made me a better man today. There's a lot of things that I'm grateful for, and that is the one thing that I never miss. And I actually do that in my morning and my evening rituals. I practice gratitude.
So as far as affirmations, like, why do you do that? Why is expressing these things like I'm a top producer, what benefit does that have for you?
I think with the affirmations, they're just reminders. It's all it is. It's so easy to sometimes get lost in the day to day, and especially if you're on some type of high or low, maybe they're like some big event happened that could affect your emotions. They're just they ground me, and then they remind me of very important things. Like, I am a top producer, man. I crush it, right? But what if I just lost a sale, right? What if some bad thing happened to me, and I get into this little negative emotions, and I forget that. So they're just daily reminders that are truthful, that just keep me on the right path.
So then, before you go into working, you said you have like a pre-work plan or routine. What does that look like? How do you get yourself prepped up to go in and actually do the execution of your business?
Yeah. So let me see if I can kind of run through it off the top of my head. So definitely the first thing is gratitude, for sure. The second thing is my affirmations. The third thing is I review my calendar for the day, and then I review my to-do list for the day. If it's important, then I'm going to put it in my calendar, right? So like specifically, what time am I going to do that specific thing? I'm going to look at my list, my call list of who am I calling that day. I've already determined what I'm going to say. I also have a Sunday ritual that is hugely important for me, which is basically where I plan my entire week out of who I'm going to call and what I'm going to say, like what are the topics that we're going to talk about for the entire week. And so, in the morning, I'm just kind of reviewing what I've already pre-planned on the Sunday. Who am I going to call? What am I going to say? And what are the most important tasks that I need to get done today?
And why are these things important, as opposed to just like kind of going into the day and just winging it, like whatever comes your way? Why is it important to go through that plan?
Keeps me on the right path. I work in a very chaotic industry where, I'm dealing with people's livelihoods, right? If I mess up, it could cost somebody hundreds of thousands of dollars in their house. If I mess up, it could make somebody homeless, right? I can't mess up. And, going into it and winging it, I'm sure it could work for some people, but for me, it's the systems, right? It's when I bookend my days can be so chaotic sometimes, right? I have a client right now, who's they're going through divorce, right? So that's already a very messy situation. I'm dealing with the two people. It's already very emotional, very messy, and I deal with chaotic things literally every single day, all day, every day. So these bookends, they just keep me grounded and on the right path.
You are talking about dealing with chaos. Have you ever been fucked over before?
Yeah. Have I ever been, because you're going to ask for a specific example. Have I ever been fucked over for? I'm sure I have. Give me an example of being fucked over. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, just like a time where somebody did you dirty in business. Maybe it was a client, maybe it was a friend, maybe it was a colleague. Someone.
You know what, man? I'm sure I have.
And you don't have to give specifics, or specific names or anything, but like.
I don't even think about that, man. I don't have the energy for it because, I had a mentor who one time told me, just like, if you want to be successful in business, never overthink about one specific client, right? Shit happens. Yeah, man. I mean, I've worked with people who were not ready to buy a house. And I help them get ready, working on their credit, helping them with their down payment, coaching them, and then they end up working with somebody else. Right? I've got a million examples of that, but I don't have time for that. Right? I'm focused on the positive things. I'm focused on what's coming next. I really try to keep all that negativity out of my life, and a lot of that is because I also surround myself with a lot of positive people. So yeah, man, if someone is gonna do me dirty, kick rocks, man. I'll move on.
Hell yeah, that's great. Great perspective to have.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are very interested in real estate, and a lot of just normal people who are interested in real estate. What would you say? First of all, like, what do you think of the real estate market here in Charlotte?
Booming. Real estate is regional for sure. There are parts of the country where the market is going down. Charlotte is one of the most popular cities for people to move to in the country. The market is going to continue to go up. It's going to continue to get more expensive. And I mean, for me, it's great, right? Because this is my market, and I have a whole bunch of clients because so many people move here. But if you're someone who wants to buy real estate in Charlotte, you should probably do it soon because prices will continue to go up here specifically because it's such a popular destination for so many people to move to.
What's a good way for someone to get into the real estate game? Like, what's an intro level step to get into the real estate business? Whether that's creating your own portfolio, or maybe there's some other avenue that a person could bring value to this market without necessarily having capital. Or
yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
For sure, man. If I could go back. And, again, I just got out of a pretty long relationship, but if I can go back and I was younger, and Charlotte is tough because there's not a lot of multifamily homes, but you can buy a multifamily home, a duplex or a triplex, with a 3.5% down payment, right? So you can buy like a $500,000 home for like $15,000, which, I mean, $15,000 is definitely a lot of money to a lot of people, but you can get a duplex that's going to pay you $1,000 a month. Right? You can live in one of the units for a year, rent out the other one, and then leave that house after a year, buy another house or do whatever you want to do, and you've got cash flow.
Is that with like a first-time home buyer loan?
Technically, you could do that without being a first-time home buyer, but you'd have to live in the house.
Gotcha, okay.
I think the biggest real estate hack, and what I'm going to be doing now, because now I got a big house, and it's just me.
Let's go.
I'm probably going to rent it out and buy another house.
Yeah.
Right? Because, but I'll be getting rental income for that thing forever. I'll never sell my house. That's another thing. The real estate agents are going to hate me for this one. I would never sell my house. In Charlotte specifically, because the prices will always go up. Yeah. As long as people are moving here, the prices will go up. So how do you get started? Save up for your down payment. There's even down payment assistance programs, right? If you're going to live in the house, the main thing is you got to be comfortable with the monthly payment. I'm not about overextending myself, right? And like I said, the market is already high, right? So if you can't afford it, don't do it. You probably invest somewhere else. But if you can afford the monthly payment, absolutely invest in real estate because you're going to get equity. I mean, I've already got like $100,000 in equity. I bought my house in 2021. It's already gone up by like $100,000. I haven't done anything to it. It's just there, right? What a great investment. With real estate, the difference between real estate and like stocks or whatever else you're going to invest in is real estate may go up at a smaller percentage. So let's say real estate goes up by 4% or 5% per year. You're not getting a return on your investment. You're getting the return on the value of the property, right? So I could spend what's 3.5% of $400,000. It's like $12,000. I could spend $12,000 to get a $400,000 home that goes up 4% per year, and in 1 year I've made $16,000. 2 years I've made $32,000. It keeps going up,
Right.
and it's actually compound, so it's even more than that. So that's why I think real estate, regionally, of course, right? It's not everywhere, but in Charlotte, if you can do it, do it.
What kind of money do you need to like get some skin in the game and like put a cash flowing deal together? Is it like you need to have 50 grand and how much, income coming in to cover the mortgage or whatever? What is like kind of the baseline, you would say?
It depends on if you're going to live in the house.
Yeah.
If you're going to live in it, the upfront
Cheapest
investment,
scenario. What is the cheapest scenario for someone?
I mean, I've helped people buy homes with literally no money out of pocket. If you're going to live in the home, and if you're a first-time home buyer, there's programs out there. You can buy a house with no money, right? So when you buy a house, there's two things you got to pay for: your down payment and your closing costs. There are tons of down payment assistance programs where you can get your down payment covered. Closing costs are things like property taxes, legal fees, insurances, things like that. You can have the people that you're buying the house from pay for that. So you can buy a house with no money if you're going to live in it. If it's strictly an investment property, you're gonna need some money to put down.
Could you have that same situation where you're living in the house, you're utilizing those programs, and you're yielding an investment or yielding a profit from that property?
I mean, if you get a multifamily home like a duplex, absolutely. You live in one unit, somebody else lives in the other unit. I mean, if you want to do like a Airbnb or like room rentals, you can do that. The point is in order to get those programs, you need to live in the house.
Yeah.
What you do with the house, that's up to you.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, you can purchase real estate with no money. I didn't know that.
Call me.
What would be your closing advice to someone who is maybe looking to make the leap into entrepreneurship or has just started down this entrepreneurial journey, but is at the early stages? What kind of advice would you give them?
You've got to be ready to fail for at least 2 years and make no money. But after the 2 years, you're going to start to get a little bit of momentum. And then once you have that momentum, if you've been doing it for a few years, that's where you make the money. But don't jump into it thinking you're going to make money right away, because that really never happens. And when it does happen, that's not sustainable. So you got to have money saved up. Honestly, if you're getting into entrepreneurship, probably shouldn't buy a house. You should probably hold on to that cash, right? Because
you might need it.
You might need it.
Yeah, it's funny. We interviewed this guy, George Heisel. He's a veteran entrepreneur, and he basically said one of his first businesses was an overnight success, but start to finish, it was 10 years before they were profitable.
Yeah.
And that was his, what he considered an overnight success. But to close out here, where can people find you if they're interested in reaching out? They have any interest in your services? Where can they find you, and anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, just get me on Instagram. First one is CLT Connects. If you're here in Charlotte, you need to go to our Charlotte Connects events. We're doing one next month, but if you just follow us on Instagram, CLT Connects, we're posting not only our events, but other events and things to do in Charlotte. And then for any real estate related stuff, you can follow my personal page, Chris Bushnell Homes, also on Instagram.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that concludes this episode of Shakin' Hands. I'm your host, Jack Moran. If you like what you heard today, please turn in next time for some more interesting guests and conversations. Have a good one.